Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me one quick favor, see that little black subscribe button on the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, hit that little black subscribe button. Really does help this channel grow, my audience grow, and I appreciate it more than you know. Also, quick thank you to our presenting sponsor, Betfred Sportsbook and the Betfred Sportsbook app. Bet $50 on any game. Get up to $1,111 in free bets courtesy of the Betfred Sportsbook. Thank you again. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Switch gears, and I want to talk a little conference realignment. And I know that by now some of you are tired of this stuff, but I want to talk about conference realignment for a couple reasons specifically on today's show. One, it was actually a very important weekend for realignment. 12 schools in total actually switched conferences on the morning of Saturday, July 1st. Most notably, Central Florida, Cincinnati, BYU, and Houston joining the Big 12. Like, that is officially a thing. They're playing in the Big 12 this coming year. But what was more interesting was that as we wait for all of the other puzzle pieces to get figured out, what's the future of the Pac-12? What is the future of the Big 12? The most interesting story was actually the team and the school that didn't switch leagues and didn't even get an invite. That school is San Diego State. And let me tell you, while you guys and girls were shooting off fireworks and eating hot dogs and enjoying your 4th, San Diego State found itself in maybe the wildest conference realignment story that I can ever remember. So let's break it down and let's discuss, because this is crazy. Like, when you hear this, you're going to be like, did that really happen? Yes, it did. All right, so San Diego State, we've talked about a lot. And the reason being was that we thought, and if you're watching on YouTube, I'm using air quotes, we thought San Diego State was a school that was very much coveted by both the Pac-12 and the Big 12, and they very well may be. Just one problem. As we've told you many times, as I've told you, I said June 30th is a very important date because June 30th was essentially the date that San Diego State had to make a move and leave the Mountain West. It would be for after this coming season, 2023-2024. But they had to officially let the Mountain West know that they were leaving before June 30th. If they did, they would still have to pay the league a total of $17 million, which sounds like a lot. Here's the thing, though. If they didn't get out by June 30th, if they stayed beyond June 30th of 2023, then it would mean that when they ultimately leave the league, they're going to have to double that payment to the Mountain West and pay $34 million. And so essentially, June 30th was the day that they had to be out, or the payment was going to be double. And even if you go to a major conference, you're not getting that kind of money, and it's going to be a pretty serious payment and a pretty big hit to the school and the athletic department. And so over the last couple of weeks, we've actually talked about this element of it a lot, is that there's been this weird back and forth between San Diego State and the Mountain West. About 2 weeks ago, with that June 30th date looming, as you may remember, San Diego State actually sent a letter to the Mountain West that essentially said, we're probably still planning on leaving. But keep in mind, they didn't have an official invite to any other conference. And so they actually, about 2 weeks ago, asked the Mountain West, they said, guys, girls, if you don't mind, we still plan on leaving. But if it's cool, can we get a little extension on that July 30th date? Would really appreciate it if you could help us out, which is essentially like basically being in the middle of a divorce. Like, you decided to leave your husband or your wife for the neighbor. And essentially what San Diego State just did was said, honey, I'm leaving you for the neighbor, but our house isn't going to be ready for another month. Can we stay an extra month and figure this stuff out? You'd kick them to the curb, right? Well, that's essentially what San Diego State did. And so here's the wild part, is that San Diego State, not only, this was 2 or 3 weeks ago now, we're going to get to what happened this weekend momentarily. They not only said, you are not, they not only said, we're not giving you an extension, they said, we are accepting this as your official resignation letter, and you're going to owe us that $17 million since you did get in that, you did withdraw from the league before June 30th. And so there's been this weird back and forth for the last couple weeks. And here is what happened on June 30th, which was last Friday, that you need to know, because this is the crazy part, okay? So San Diego State basically didn't really acknowledge what happened 2 weeks ago. And on June 30th, this past Friday, told the Mountain West, they said, okay, guys, okay, We know it was weird a couple weeks, but we're coming back, okay? It's like the Leonardo DiCaprio gif from Wolf of Wall Street. We're coming back. Here's where it gets crazy, though. This is where this becomes one of the wildest realignment stories I can ever remember. The Mountain West is standing their ground. And so as of right now, this is what the Mountain West told San Diego State last Friday when San Diego State said, okay, we're not leaving. We're coming back. The Mountain West said, no. You already sent us a resignation letter. We accepted your resignation letter. You are not welcome back. And oh, by the way, here's the other part that's crazy. You owe us $17 million, and because we don't think you're going to pay it, we're actually going to hold all of the TV revenue that you guys generated for this league last season. So essentially, all of the schools get paid on July 1st from the TV revenue for the previous year. And the Mountain West is like, yeah, we're not giving you any of that because we don't believe you're going to pay the $17 million, and you have to pay $17 million to leave this league. And so as of right now, this second, San Diego State has no conference beyond this year, isn't getting TV money that is owed to them, and is still going to owe the conference more money on top of that. And so there is a scenario, I'm not saying that it's likely, where a year from now, if the Pac-12 doesn't figure things out, if the Big 12 doesn't want them, if the Mountain West doesn't accept them back, then San Diego State is not going to have a conference to play in. I don't think it will get to that, but how about San Diego State and the Mountain West, the most, it's just an angry public breakup, and I got a couple thoughts on it here before we kind of switch gears and wrap the show. One, first of all, I'll say this. I've actually thought for a long time that San Diego State was handling this process incorrectly. And what do I mean by that? You can go back to comments made by San Diego State's AD, J.D. Wicker, at the Final Four, where he was basically asked about the future of the program. If you remember, the Big 12 commissioner, Brett Yormark, flew to the Final Four to kind of, he didn't really meet with them, but he was kind of like letting them know, hey, we could have a thing here. And if you go back to that time, San Diego State's AD, I thought, made some interesting comments that I personally wouldn't have made. He basically told the world, hey, we believe we're ready for a Power 5 conference. We're ready to go, and we're ready to accept as soon as that offer is extended to us. At the time, I actually give Gloria Nevarez, the commissioner of the Mountain West, credit. She said, look, we're making contingency plans without them. But I did think that that was a weird thing for San Diego State's AD to say publicly. Now, privately, you can work in silence like Texas and Oklahoma did, USC and UCLA did, okay? That's one. Two, I think even if everybody knows that you're looking to step up in competition, there are ways you can handle it publicly without actually saying, yeah, we're ready to leave and leave these losers in the dust, which is essentially what San Diego State's AD said. Think about what all of the Pac-12 schools are doing right now. Colorado, Arizona. I think those schools are about ready to go, but they're saying the right things publicly. Oh, we want to stay with the Pac-12. We hope it works out, but we will obviously keep our options open going forward. That's a very easy way for San Diego State to get away with basically acknowledging we're ready to move without saying we're ready to move. So that's one. Two, let me give credit where it's due. The brass you-know-what of the Mountain West commissioner, Gloria Nevarez, she is new to the conference. She got hired within the last year. I give this woman so much credit, so much freaking credit to this woman, because this woman basically looked probably the best and most important member of their conference in the eye. And you know what she said to him? She said, you guys don't want to be here. That's fine. You're out. Leave. And then when San Diego State had to backtrack, when San Diego State had to whatever, she said, no, we're not here to appease you. I'm here to take care of the schools that want to be here. And here's the crazy part. There's not going to be a resolution on this in the next couple of days. These school presidents of the Mountain West don't meet again, I think, until July 17th, I believe, is the date. And so they don't meet until July 17th, and San Diego State is not allowed in that meeting because they don't deem them a member of this conference anymore. So I give her a ton of credit. And to me, it's just going to be fascinating to see what happens going forward. Now, ultimately, this could go one of two very unique directions. And I do think either way, the Mountain West is in pretty good shape. One, the Mountain West, I think there's a scenario where the Mountain West does let back San Diego State in. As a matter of fact, I think it's a very likely scenario. But at that point, what does the Mountain West have that they haven't had for the last year? They have all the leverage. They say, look, we don't care if you made a Final Four, played for a national championship, do all these great things. You got to come back. And at that point, you could say, you got to commit to us long term. We're not taking you back for 2023, 2024, and then letting you bounce a year later. We're not taking you back for 2023, 2024, 2024, 2025. We're not taking you for 2 years. You got to commit right now to X number, whatever it is, 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, whatever it is. I don't know what it is, but as of right now, as I record here late on July 4th into July 5th, I would argue that the Mountain West actually has most of the leverage in this situation. Now, I will also say this could actually work out well for San Diego State, because at some point, the Pac-12 is going to have to present TV numbers to their schools and tell them what the next TV contract looks like, where the game's going to be played, how will people watch them, etc. Now, from that point, we'll see, do the schools leave? Do they stay? Do they this? Do they that? But if that happens over the next week or two, and San Diego State's essentially been kicked out of the league, now they still only owe half of the money that they would had they decided to stay in the first place. So this could actually work out best for San Diego State, because you're going to have to pay $17 million either way. And this kind of effectively bought you the extension that you're looking for. And for the Mountain West perspective, there is no bad scenario. You're either getting $17 million and they're leaving now, you're getting $17 million, or you're getting them to stay. So this is a fascinating story. But essentially, as I record right now, this second today, and stuff is going to change on this one, San Diego State does not have a league to play in beyond the 2023-2024 season. How about that for a realignment update?